Hi, Primas. I'm Roxy,
Giselle.
and this is the For Las Primas podcast. Welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone.
At For Las Primas, we are committed to sharing stories of real Latina first-generation women. And today we're so excited to introduce a special guest, Ivette Lavin.
Yeah, so Ivette is an educator, creative strategist, and wellness advocate on a mission to help people thrive without burning out. She has a background in ed tech and customer enablement. She empowers thousands through digital learning, onboarding experiences, and self-guided tools.
We're diving into everything today with Ivette and how her own journey has shaped her passion for sustainable growth for herself and for others.
So grab your cafecito or your wine, settle in, and let's get into it.
I have a little cervecita today for our podcast episode.
Very nice. I didn't have time to grab a single drink for this episode.
Thirsty. Well, I will say that is what's nice about remote work is it's a little bit late into the afternoon and I am working with my husband.
I'm in Savannah right now, and I've had a day of playing tourist.
Oh, it's Savannah. I haven't been there in so long.
It's really old. Sorry, historic. I also went to the Prohibition Museum, which was really interesting because it was a lot of women's history. And yeah, the women were on one during that time. I was like, I wish that we would be like that right now.
Wait, tell me more. How were they on one?
They were like protesting in the streets. So like a lot of it stemmed from like, there was no regulations on alcohol, like even on children, like there was zero regulations. So a lot of people were dying. And like at that time, women couldn't vote, they couldn't work, they couldn't do nothing. So their husbands were dying because of alcohol, like because of alcohol poisoning and stuff. And so they were very pro-prohibition because it left them without a husband and without anything.
I mean, like, some of them were probably for it. They're like, let him die. Screw this guy.
Yeah, for sure. Because there was a lot of domestic violence that happened because of alcohol. So they were just like, we need to ban alcohol. This is out of control.
Wow. What a time.
What a time.
Well, I miss you. I haven't seen you in so long. We're yappers and we can just keep yapping. So let's bring in our guest, Ivette, and have her join us for our chat today. Welcome, Ivette, to the For Las Primas podcast.
I'm so happy to join.
Thanks for joining us. I'm so excited because Ivette is my real life prima. She's my mom's sister's daughter.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you, Ivette, and to hear from you and learn from you. As we've said before, part of our mission on For Las Primas is to chat with other first generation Latinas, especially everyday real life women. I feel like a lot of podcasts will cover experts in this and that, but what about the real people and what about the real women? So that's what we really want to capture and talk about today. Even though Ivette is not my blood prima, she is a prima by association, and I have a lot of admiration for her. We've talked extensively about our own, our parents' immigration story, our first gen story. So we want to hear from you. So do you want to walk us through a little bit about your parents' immigration story and how you ended up in the U.S. and being born in the U.S.?
Yeah, so it all starts in 1993. The year I was born. But it's also the year that they came because, and they make like a really gross joke about like how I I heard a lot of gross jokes about it. It's traumatizing right there. They're like, I was conceived in Cuba, so they were like, you were almost born there because it was the same year that they came. I think it was on like a couple months afterwards that they had me in the US.
Wow.
So my brother was already, he's 7 years older than me. Giselle's parents and my grandparents and my mom's sisters and her brother, they were already here in the US. So they were like the last ones in that little family dynamic to like move over. So yeah, I was almost born on Cuban territory. Imagínate.
It's amazing that I mean, I always say like I was born in the US by coincidence. I mean, I was born years after my parents had come to the US, but all of us were sort of born here by coincidence because we could have all, I mean, you were really the closest to have been born in Cuba out of all of us, but you know, we're all here by chance. So,
Yeah, it's totally by chance. I mean, I don't obviously remember it because I was a baby, but like, so my majority of my experience is being raised in New Jersey. And I think I've only been to Cuba. Yeah, I've only been to Cuba one time, and I was like maybe 6, going on 7. And I remember it pretty vividly, but like, and I remember being really young, but and I had my dad. A lot of my dad's side was over there, so like my grandmother and his brothers and his sisters, although they're kind of like everywhere around the world too, right now, like not even in the U.S. So there's not really much family I think we have left over there from what I know. But again, I think like that's also a part of it is too, is like you never really know that much because it's only what our family chooses to share. Like to
yeah.
me, I only know, just I really kind of only know that much besides like just little stories here and there.
Like, what are some memories that I mean, 6 or 7 is young, right? But as a young child, you were born and raised in New Jersey. You lived in a first world country, the US. What are some things that you sort of remember, maybe that stand out to you from when you visited Cuba? Are there any things that you're kind of like, this was weird, or I remember this one thing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of weird things, I would say. I mean, I remember like the lights going out all the time, I tell you. No air conditioning. Sometimes like bathing with a bucket and like sleeping in those tents because the frogs and the mosquitoes. And then I also remember riding like horses like with no like just like on bareback, like on a horse. Like straight up. Like and like climbing trees and like being around farm animals, like things like
Like
that.
your dad's side was more from like a campo.
Yeah, yes, they were. And so
Why
like
did
I
all of
think
our mothers, side note, end up with a man from a campo?
isn't that crazy? They're all like, and then they all like, I think they all are like really like they get each other because of that. Like,
But they also all talk shit about El Campo and
yeah,
Guajiros, and they're like, no, porque yo soy de La Habana, and it's like,
yeah.
oh.
They're like, I'm a city boy
Yeah.
now. I don't know.
So
But,
you stayed with
yeah.
your dad's family in El
Yeah, we
Campo.
did both. We did both. We did both. And I remember like it was rain all the time, kind of like Miami weather, where it was like rain and sunshine, rain and sunshine. And I also remember randomly like climbing on like roofs. I don't know. I think I was like literally going wild.
There was
They were
no
like,
laws in Cuba.
there's no laws, like, because I remember like climbing on roofs and just being on top of roofs. Like, I don't know why. And I was like 6 or 7. And then like catching a bunch of lizards. I also remember like walking around in Malecon and there was like some guys like fishing there. And then like me like picking up the fish and throwing it back in the water. And like them kind of like being like, you're throwing away my fish. Just
That was food, girl. You be wasting food
yeah,
in
I was
Cuba.
like just like having a good time, like chucking them back. And then I also remember my dad like fishing. I mean, he fishes like all the time. It's like his thing, fishing a lot. And then I remember being like scared because like we were just like waist deep while he was fishing, and I was like terrified that a shark was gonna come. And yeah, it was just a wild time. Like, and I met like a bunch of my cousins and stuff. And then I also fell in love with mango, but also at the same time, it was like I had so much mango and so much fresh mango that I got sick of it by the end of the trip. Like, and I couldn't have mango and like I wanted to vomit mangoes.
What
And
a
I've never
great
had
thing
the
to get
same
sick of.
relationship with mango ever again. Oh, and I also
Yeah,
remember going on motorcycles, like, and they weren't real motorcycles; they were like motorbikes. But to me, I was like, "That's a motorcycle." Yeah,
they're like Vespas, like
yeah,
little Vespas.
yeah.
That's amazing. I know. I remember it's funny that you talk about bathing with a bucket because that was like the water would just go out and there'd be no
Yeah.
water. So when I visited, I remember there was like at my cousin's house, there was like a shower head, but without the head. It was just a shower pipe, if you
Yeah.
will. So there was either like water coming at you at 1,000 miles like per hour, like just a stream,
Just
so it like
straight.
hurt, or you had to bathe with a bucket. So we
But
take
you
for
know what?
granted.
Like, I feel like I also have memories of bathing with a bucket in New Jersey. Like, I don't know
Oh,
why they
totally.
brought that over here.
They totally did. They totally did. And yeah, when we were young, they would be like, okay, and then I guess you would just use the bucket to bathe you. Like they would take the handle from the shower and pour it into the bucket. Like I don't know why we couldn't use it.
Why would they
And
do
then we
that?
would just like take a little thing and just like bathe in the shower. Like we didn't have working water. Like we had a full functioning apartment, like full functioning homes.
Well, I can imagine too, like for our parents, like they're what, in their early 20s, mid 20s. And so when they come here and they have all of
Yeah.
these things working, coming from a country where like you couldn't do anything, like I can imagine that there was like some sort of like a culture shock for them for a couple of years, even though they don't talk about
Yeah.
that. Now they're like, we're from the US. We don't even know who's Cuba. I don't know her,
I
And
Yeah.
you're like,
He's like, who's that bucket for?
so Eva, tell us a little bit about like your experience growing up in New Jersey. When you were in kindergarten, like did your parents speak English? Did you go to school with like in a diverse area?
I grew up in Patterson, so I did pre-K in a pretty diverse area where like there's a lot of people that spoke Spanish. Primarily, like I remember speaking like Spanglish in class. And then after like my pre-K years, my parents took me out of that school and took me to a different school. It was like a private Catholic school, and it was definitely majority white. So it was a big change. And I remember like not knowing how to say like commercial. I don't know. When I met my one of my first like friends, and I guess we were just bonding over television, and I was like, "Oh, you haven't seen that like the comercial?" Like and I was like talking to her, and she was like, "Commercial?" Like and so there were like some weird like words that I guess like we would just say in Spanish because it sounded I don't know. Anyways, so I remember that and I feel like by that time just how like you were alive. Like I don't it's weird because like I don't remember a time. I mean we're only a year apart, but I don't really remember a time when like you and like our other cousins, our other primas, like were not alive and around. Yeah, and I feel like we hung out like quite a bit. Like our families are always really close. So it wasn't until I think that you all like moved to Florida that I realized like, oh my God, like I need to make friends.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
like these built-in friends and then I just like they moved and I was like, oh my, I don't I don't have a friends. Like I don't have anyone to hang out with really.
Yeah.
So
Because it
then,
was like different for us because still everyone was around.
So you grew up with all of your cousins
I did grow up with
and
majority of all my cousins and I don't even count my brother in that, and I'll tell you why. Because he's like 7 years older. So to me, I was like, you don't even exist. Jerry like doesn't really pop into my mind until probably everybody leaves, and then he's like the only person I have to put.
he's my age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You little bitches, okay? He's not that old. He's not that old.
Well, because I
But he
remember he
felt
also
so
like
big.
had the room. He had like the room in the back of your
Yeah.
apartment, and then like we would go in there only because the toy room was also in there.
Yeah, because like they so basically like in the okay, so my parents lived in like this like luxury condo in Patterson, but my mom and my dad both worked there. So we had like a two-bedroom like apartment in there. And then they basically took out the master bedroom and gave it to me and my brother to split until like I don't know, he probably was like a teenager and was like, I don't want to live with a baby. And then they put me in my own little separate room. But then the closet, like the walk-in closet and the bathroom was so big, and they put like my toy room in there. So all my toys were in there. And it was always un reguero. Like it was always a
Crazy.
mess in there.
It was like
Like
a
there was
mountain of
it's a
toys.
mountain.
Or maybe it felt like that to us because we were so little that we were like climbing like the bed toy.
Yeah, it was like nuts in there. And like, like you had like the kitchen sets and everything. It was like all in that room. But it felt really big. And then Jerry had like his door, like he didn't even have a door, like because it like connected. So like we would just be there and he had like his dad like a little DJ set because he was going through like a DJ phase. And so he would like play music. And then like I guess he was more involved than we think, but he would like, play music and
You were
throw
like
parties.
there, but like
Yeah.
not there, you know?
Yeah. And then he had like this little like flashing light thing, that DJs have.
And it sounds like similar to other immigrant stories, right? Like where you live in these small areas and you don't even realize it because you're a little kid and there's so much magic in all that you have when you're little
Yeah.
that you don't even recognize it. Cause like I'm sure if you went there now, you'd be like, this was tiny for the three of us. Like this is, or for the four of
Yeah.
us, you know?
So basically what they did is they put like a fake wall between the kitchen and like the living room, and then they made my room, which was it ended up being like this little square. It probably was like I don't even know. It couldn't have been. It was not very big. Like I
Uh-huh.
fit like my queen bed, like queen. I don't even think it was a queen. Sorry, let me. It was not a queen. It just felt
Her
like one in
twin
my
bed,
head.
her twin bed.
I don't think I have a closet in there. I had like a little dresser, and then that was pretty much it. And then a little computer desk eventually when I got older. But we stayed there until I was about like in high school. And then right when I was about to go into my first year of high school, we moved to somewhere else.
So going to school, Catholic school, all of our Catholic trauma.
Yeah, I
But
know.
going to school with like white girls and white kids and like, you know, being brown, it's like, did you feel othered? What was that
Yeah,
experience like for you?
probably both. And it was horrible. Like I do not recommend for anybody. I'm recovering to this day. Yeah, so many traumas. But yeah, I mean, it was a bit of I was definitely felt othered. There was some Filipino kids, I remember that, and a couple Asian kids, but it wasn't until I was like in fifth grade where like, because it was also a really small school, so like there were maybe like 20 to 40 kids, like, and two separate class. Like you have classes. It was like maybe two max. Um, and it wasn't until like this other school shut down that they merged with our school, and we got like one other one other black boy and one other black girl, and that was it. And so that was tough. Also, like I have really curly hair, so like immediately I felt like super different all the time. And I had my hair in braids, and my family put my hair in braids, and like nobody really did that. And then even like if like a braid would like pop, I would have like this crazy anxiety over my hair because it and like she would put my mom would put like these little braids and like these little like like knots and stuff. And so like if like a thing would like pop out. So I would say it was filled with a lot of anxiety that I didn't know that it was anxiety. I also think I was like I definitely had like an ADHD problem. My brain was all over the place, and I don't think there was a lot of systems in place for that. I mean, Roxanne, you now know we both work in ed tech, and there's so many things to support kids now. So many things. And being also in a Catholic school, they don't always even take standards, right? And like integrate it correctly because they have their own set of standards that they're working off of. And so I think there were not many support systems. I did have like a couple where you would go to like a trailer and little lessons and stuff. And I remember like those two women were like awesome because I loved them and they loved me. But like me in a regular classroom, like if it was horrific, like I was not paying attention, I was doing my own thing, and now I like as a adult, I'm like I was just like I'm just a girl that does her own thing. Like always have been. And like it's easier for me to express that now, and I have more control over my life. Over back then I did not have control over life. And not to mention that my parents were also probably trying to assimilate at the same time. So they were like, look at this crazy girl. She won't pay attention. She won't like, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean? So everyone was like really stressed out. My parents were always working. It was very stressful. It was very stressful.
So, like, it's funny how you mentioned, like, you were always somebody who did your own thing because I very much remember that about you and looked up to you because of that. Because, like, even when it came to, like, wearing clothes or whatever, you would always be like, if you like it, just do it. Like, that would be,
Yeah.
like, your motto.
Wow. Okay.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
you are.
Inspiring primas since 1993. Okay. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
But
But
it is
yeah, it was.
interesting because growing up and going to Catholic school, I also went to a very small Catholic school. There was diversity in my school. There was like a group of Hispanic kids, and we all hung out, and that was like my childhood core group of friends. But I agree with you. There was no differentiation. My parents didn't know the language. I got like bad reviews on everything. There was no empathy for like the fact that
Yeah.
I was the
Yeah.
opposite where I was always talking. And it's like she's disrespectful because she's always talking. And I'm like, jokes on everybody because now I talk for a living. I have a
Yeah.
podcast with my best friend. Like, so haha, I made it. But there
Yeah.
was just not a lot of patience, or there wasn't a lot of support for kids that weren't just like sitting like this at your desk. And I wonder how that's made us all rebellious as hell because we're just like, no, we are not going to sit down and
Yeah.
fold our hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely like, and it was definitely during those years, I would say that like I had like, I just started hating like authority, and I wasn't even that really rebellious, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, I cannot, like, and also the fact that you would have to sit still for that long, and then like our recess was literally like just in a parking lot where you like, like, where is my mind being put to use right now? Where we're just,
No,
and
it's
not
so
to
true.
mention I'm like, yes, I can talk for days, okay, like, and I can definitely socialize, but like also I am definitely on the introvert extrovert spectrum. Like, I need
Hmm.
some me time, and I wish that was even like an offering, or
Yeah.
like, if you don't want to go outside and socialize, just go over here. Like, I would have been like, I'm going over there. Going over there. And that
Uh,
was not an option. It was really, really diverse at my high school. So I was able to like kind of get out of this like kind of white space and just like integrate again, and then you kind of get new friends and whatever. But
yeah.
um
What do you think
yes.
are some of the things that you heard growing up that shaped you? Curious if you had any of that, or if there are things from like their
Mhm.
trauma that you heard about that also sort of like stuck with you as you grew up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Dale Gracias a Dios is a big one. I don't think I heard that many stories until like I got older and started asking questions. And then they would talk about those camps that they would go to.
Uh,
And I
La
was like,
escuela de
that's,
campo.
yeah. And I was like, that's kind of like, isn't that a little like, like child labor? Like
yeah.
child labor. And
That's
then
exactly what it was.
okay. And then
Yeah.
my mom told me like how she met my dad at one of those. And I was like, y'all met in the child labor camp? Like, but I don't think they look at it that way, but I'm like, that's kind of fucked up. And yeah, I don't think like I didn't really hear that many stories. I think it was like the assimilation piece, right? So like they didn't really talk about it because they probably didn't have the best experiences. And then I remember my grandpa talking about it, and mostly education wise, right? Like having options, right? And then him kind of always saying how he wanted to go to school and wanted to learn, but not really talking too much about like what happened to him specifically. So it was just more of like I had an understanding that like I'm better off being here than I would have been if I grew up over there. That was pretty much the gist of it. And then also I think in little ways of like, making sure like we finished all of our food because it was always rationed. And like I just remember being like, I feel like force fed milk for so long, like
I was force fed everything for so long.
yeah, like the assimilation part is so big. It's just wanting to like act like, we already belong here.
Which
I
is
don't
sad
know.
because they might have also, I mean, I can't speak for your parents, but the fact that you didn't hear so many stories growing up could also mean their own trauma. Like you couldn't talk in Cuba. You couldn't openly express the things that you wanted to say or like
Yeah.
talk about things and stories. Like I had the opposite experience where my parents talked so much about Cuba. Like I could tell you their whole story, La Escuela de Campo. My dad was like a super rebellious against like all of the things like los pañuelos. They had these pañuelos that they had to wear as part of their uniform, which represented the Communist Party. And my dad would like not wear it to school and then get in trouble.
Yeah.
So like they always shared a lot of that with me. But I wonder if like the inverse is true too of like people who don't want to talk about it, don't want to tell their kids, and they're like, "You're American," which also brings another set of issues because you're like, "But I'm not, because I'm going to
Yeah.
school and I'm darker than the other kids, or I'm saying comercial instead of commercial," like,
Right.
and so
No, it's
I
very
think
clear we're not white, okay?
Yeah.
Very, very clear. Um, Even though I felt very independent, I also didn't feel like I could like speak up for a really long time. I was very independent and I would do things my own way. Um, but I also think the not speaking up part, I honestly feel like it probably came from not sharing a lot of like stories and not really having that like storytelling part of me. Um, until like later on when I can like, develop it more and like I kind of it was a challenge for me. And I also understand it's a challenge for a lot of people. Being able to like put yourself in such a vulnerable space, right? Saying your piece, standing on it, and then like um I just didn't really have that skill set. And I think it's because I didn't really see it like play out. Like, yes, like our family would talk and debate in front of each other, but like when it came to like almost like having confrontations with like the other, we were very much on like assimilation mindset and assimilation pathway. That means like kind of keeping quiet and like, oh, and that's a part of self-preservation, I think, right? We kind of shrink ourselves and makes ourselves smaller in order to feel safe and in order to feel like comfortable. Like I think that's one of the things that I had to kind of like learn or unlearn is being able to say what I want and say like with like authority and with like integrity, like my story, even if it's, doesn't make everybody comfortable.
Giselle and I have talked about this on the pod many times, but I think immigrants generally are willing to be more quiet. They're more quiet to like, especially in the 90s, like the opinion of white people, like, oh, they know more because they're from here and we're not from here and we're just immigrants. Or they're, even though my family has never openly said that, I have witnessed moments where I'm like, that person just kind of talked down to you, like, and they don't even realize it. I think, I don't know if they don't realize it or they just became so accustomed to like being second class citizens to some degree, even though they'd be mortified that we're saying any of these things. But as an observer and as an American now, and like with the entitlement that I speak, because I'm unwilling to like not be entitled, like I am entitled, I was born here, I belong here kind of thing. I feel like we witnessed them in a more sumiso kind of way. I don't know how to say it, like submissive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't really have the language for it as a kid, but you like internalize it
Yeah.
somehow. Like all of a sudden you feel like maybe like your stomach is cramping up or like, is that like embarrassment? Do I feel shame? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why do I feel uncomfy even though like I'm with my parents? It's like little things like that. And then eventually you kind of develop over time. You get a bigger sense as to what's going on over time. And you're like, wait a minute, like, hold up. We don't have to do it this way. Like we don't have to operate this way. We sure as hell don't have to appease certain people to like get what we need and get what we want.
So tell us a little bit about like your path now, and where has, our current states are a big reflection of our first generation experience.
Yeah. I feel like the last, let's say 5, 6 years have been very transformative of how I feel like I've seen myself. And it's been a long journey. I mean, I feel like I can just start with my Saturn return. I don't know that like that's what always pops up for me. I was actually talking really recently, very, very recently to a couple of my friends about how I feel like I'm at a stage right now where I'm like merging, if that makes sense. Like I'm merging a lot of different parts of myself that I've only maybe shown to certain people. I mean, I started doing my yoga certification this past year. And then, like, I also have been doing like digital art. But I feel like in each kind of different area of my life, I had kind of a different, like, perspective of how I thought I should operate. And I feel like right now I'm in like this really, really nice space where I'm like merging and it's all coming together. And like the version of me that you get here is most likely the version of me you're gonna get over there. Like, and I feel very, very comfortable in that space right now. And like I had a back surgery 2 years ago that pretty much like completely changed a lot of what I thought I would be doing. I switched careers like 4 times and I feel perfectly fine about it, where I used to feel kind of guilty about it before. Growing up, the messaging I got around it was like, that's not what you do, right? Like you stick to one thing and you do it really well, and then you become an expert at it. And it's like, I don't operate that way. So yeah, I think right now I'm at a space where all of those things are kind of coming together in a really healthy way.
What were some of those limiting beliefs that you have worked through? And do you find a connection to your upbringing or being like, do they have ties to being first gen? Because like
Mm,
Giselle and I, we talk a lot about calladita te ves más bonita, right? And that inhibited us from sort of talking publicly or feel like that same confrontation that you were sort of talking about. Do those limiting beliefs tie back to anything from your upbringing?
yes, I would say, yeah, like you kind of named it. I mean, I think that's part of it, is like speaking up was was part of it. Like, even the way I dressed was like the way you kind of present yourself, right, to the world was a really big thing. I feel like especially like a lot of Hispanic households, right? Like we always want to look really nice, even if it's like we're hanging out in the living room
To
together
sit in the
and nothing,
sala.
to sit in a sala, nothing is happening. There is no, it's a Sunday, like we're just hanging out, but for some reason we have to look like amazing all the time. Like I feel like there was a lot of pressure too to look and behave a certain way that exceeded expectations. Like showing up as you are is 9 times out of 10 very much enough. And I think too, like the way that we all grew up, like just we felt a lot of pressure to do a lot of great things. And I have to always remind myself too that sometimes like my like 50% is other people's like 80% or 90% because like I overdid it. I had like a huge moment of like burnout, I think, before I moved to Florida, where I literally was like, I have to take a break from work because I am like this close to like putting myself in a mental institution because I can no longer function right now. Like my nervous system was done. And I think it was just because I was just like pushing myself to be a particular type of person that I wasn't. A lot of our behaviors, we've learned it growing up. We've learned it within our family. We've seen it. And then once I kind of picked up on it, I was like, oh, like I don't have to keep it going either. Like I think that's part of like the generational trauma too that we talk about, is like I don't have to continue living a certain type of way in order to feel successful, in order to feel loved, in order to feel wanted, in order to feel good about myself. Like my dad is like a little bit emotionally unregulated, and like also that behavior is not okay, and that's a behavior that I don't want to put out in the world either. So I'm going to learn how to regulate my nervous system in order to like start behaving in the way that I want to behave and that I want to like see kind of in my world. So that's just
And
one
I,
example.
I think that's a really great example. And also like the over productivity, our parents would work all week and then on the weekends it's like 7 o'clock in the morning and there's music blaring and you can smell arroz con frijoles and you're like, I'm sorry, are we cleaning the house with arroz con frijoles already cooked
Yeah.
at 7 a.m.? Because that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
overproductivity is like almost expected because if you're not doing any of that, then you're just lazy and they're like, you
Yeah.
should be doing it.
One of my friends told me too, she was like, I could tell her family wasn't a living room family. And I was like, what does that mean? And then she was like, so a living room family is like you could all hang out in the living room and nothing is expected of you. But she was like, but if you would be in the living room, she was like, it was like you were like on call for something. So you were either a living room family where you could all relax and feel cool in the living room, or you were the non-living room family where you were trying to avoid the living room because people would call on you all the time to do
Oh my
something.
god, I've never heard of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I have rapid fire questions for you.
Okay. Can I see if I can
So
rapid
don't
answer
think
them?
don't think too much, just like what comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay. Tostones or maduros?
Maduros. Well, no, actually, I take it back.
Reggaeton or salsa?
Both.
Favorite Spanglish word or phrase?
I always say like casa carajo a lot. I'll be like, I gotta go to casa carajo now.
I love that. I always say casa carajo, take a left. It makes it sound further. Morning cafecito or nighttime wine?
Morning cafecito, yeah, for sure.
What's your toxic trait?
My toxic trait, maybe my toxic trait is thinking that like I'm fine.
I have no toxic traits.
I'm perfectly okay.
What's one stereotype about Latinas that you're tired of hearing?
I don't know like what this falls under, but I really don't like the over like sexualization. I mean, honestly, of any group. And I think the Latino one kind of hits a certain way. Anything regarding like over the sexualization of any person, any body, that we all look a certain way or we all act a certain way. I just think I don't like any of it. So just chuck it out the window.
That one gets snaps. I'm with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
Uh,
like it.
well, it's been so nice to chat with you, Yvette. We'd love for you to join our cafecito and chisme.
We're gonna shift into cafecito and chisme, and you're
Cafecito
gonna
and
join us.
chisme.
I wanted to talk about the Love Island winners, Amaya and Brian, the first Latino Love Island winners.
They're like the first Latino like couple.
Yeah,
Like
to ever
they're like,
win.
oh, very cool. Very,
So
very
they
cool.
made history. I love it. I'm like, in Trump's America, the Latino couple is winning.
Can we just talk about the moment that our culture is having right now? We're having such a big moment. And I'm just so proud of our culture. I'm so proud to be a part of it. I love being freaking Latina. So,
Yeah, it
a
was
moment.
really like nice to see them win. And then also like their last date was like in a couch, like in a sala setting, and they were like looking at a picture album, and somebody was like, it just felt so like nice and like cultural.
Like wholesome.
Yeah,
It's a nice Sala moment.
yeah.
I love
I
them. I'm
love
so
that.
happy like Amaya got her flowers.
Yes,
She's
and
like
like another thing about Amaya too was that there was like three guys that she had dated in the villa, and they were all saying like she was too much, she was too emotional, and the guy that she ended up pairing with was the guy who like stood up for her and was like, well, you know, our culture, you say things like mi amor, mi vida, and it's like normal.
yeah. I like her. She's really fun and really funny. And she's like but she's been the same since day one. I like authenticity in my reality show people.
Okay, so lastly, People in Español ranked the 50 más bellos reggaeton stars.
Okay.
And it's been so controversial.
Oh, I don't know who's in the
Who is
top?
it?
Okay, like the top 10. Let me just start with I was okay.
Dale,
Number
tell us
12
the
was
order.
number
Just
10 was
go.
Winsing from Winsing and Yandel.
Oh wow.
Okay,
Wait, is he the one that looks like a penis?
he's like not Yandel.
Penis. Yeah. Okay.
He's number 10 and top 50 guys. Okay, and number 8, Anuel.
That man should not have even made the 50. That man
And
really
top
looks like a
10?
penis.
He made top 10? That's crazy.
No, pero
Wait,
es
is
que
this
ni los
like who
who
did
rated
this?
this? Con los ojos
So
cerrados.
now people are like, okay, are people paying to get on this top 10? Because
But it's like
And
hottest as in
when?
like they're making money or hottest as in like
no,
popularity or
like
hottest as in
no,
look.
like hottest in looks. Like it's like top 50 must bail.
No, there's no justice to be made.
For those of you listening and not watching, you need to look up Anuel AA. But for those watching on YouTube, I'm gonna just flash a photo.
Come on. The Latino population is so much
Number
like
8,
better
you guys.
looking.
I'm gonna skip over to number 6 where they put Raul Alejandro. I think good.
Top
What?
3.
Yeah, he should have been higher. I mean, why is he so close to
Wait,
Anuel?
what's number 4?
Oh
I
my
need to know
god.
the top 5.
Number 4, Carol G.
Okay.
The-
Number 2.
Number 2 is Nati Peluso.
Oh,
She's pretty.
well deserved. She's
Yeah,
beautiful.
she's
I
pretty.
love her. She's very cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
she's cool.
number 2. And number 1 was Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny. Duh.
Okay.
Although, like, I think he is pretty. Do I think he's the number 1 most bello Latino artist? Absolutely not.
No, but can we get a little bit more creative with this list?
Even Raul
Like, this
Alejandro, I
list
thought
doesn't
could have
feel
been
right.
higher than even Carol G. Could have been higher than Bad Bunny. That woman is
Why?
beautiful.
But also Fade didn't
Wait,
make it.
what about like the other?
Anuel is
surprised.
not hotter than Fade.
That was a very controversial list. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay.
Anyway, that is all that we have for today.
Wow,
Thank you,
fun times.
Yvette, for joining us. It's been so lovely chatting with you, and the conversation has been so lovely. Thank you for your time and for spending time with the Primas today, both your
Yeah.
blood and Prima by association here. We love you
Yes.
and we appreciate you.
Yeah, this was so fun. All right, primas.
Bye.
Mucho amor.
Bye.